Okay, I'm Raj and I'm 21 and I suffer from. What do I not suffer from? Anxiety, depression, and depersonalization. So, in terms of whether people understand me, I think they do now. I think at first it was really hard to get people to try and understand what you're going through because people with mental health tend to put up a front. They don't like talking about their issues, especially in the beginning. And I didn't, but now I just don't care. But so I think for other people who don't necessarily suffer from mental health can find it, they might not be able to kind of get what they're going through. They might think maybe they're saying stuff for attention and things like that. But I think it's changed. I think people do understand me now that I've been more open about it. In terms of enough being done, I think so. I think there's enough. There's plenty of support. There's loads of different types of groups and things like that you can go to. One-to-ones as well. So yeah, I think so. I think there is. There's also medication if you need it. And what would I tell other people suffering? I'd just say talk to someone. But I think because it's been a lot easier for me to deal with things when I started speaking up about it and I actually talked to someone about it, because before that you just deal with everything by yourself and it just gets worse. So just talk to someone you trust.
I'm Jamie, I'm 21 and I have anxiety. It's quite bad. I don't necessarily talk about it that much because I don't feel that other people need to be affected by it or bothered by it. It's something that I'm sort of have medication for it, but I don't take it because again I don't want it to sort of change me, so I stay the way I am. So I don't necessarily need people to understand me because like I say I don't talk about it or get people to talk about it. It's something I can just sort of get along with and take at my own pace. It's not something I've ever sort of needed people to help with, I guess. To do with Enough's Been Done, it's getting a lot better. Like as time goes on, there's more awareness about mental illness and stuff like that. But that, it doesn't necessarily affect me because again, I don't share it and stuff. I keep it all to myself most of the time. And for other people suffering, I'd just say, even though I don't necessarily do it, it's probably better to sort of talk about it and get it out there, because then you can get the help that you need.
My name's Abby, I'm 20 years old and I don't feel comfortable talking about my own personal experiences with mental health. Don't think enough's necessarily being done yet. It's definitely getting better than it has been, and people are a lot more open to the fact that mental health's a thing and people struggle with it, and it is just as important as physical health, but nowhere near enough's being done to help the people that won't talk about it. Like, I understand if people won't talk about it, it's a lot harder to get it out of them, but even just being aware of what's going on, it's like just messaging your friend and checking up on them. It's just the little things like that that mean a lot to people that to the normal person it wouldn't mean anything. To anybody on the outside and anybody just going by the day-to-day bits and bobs, just messaging someone and saying, "Are you alright?" wouldn't necessarily mean a lot to them, but to the person they're checking up on, it could mean the absolute world.
Simon Clegg, 37. I've suffered with depression for about 5 years through various treatments. In the working environment, I'd never encountered any kind of sympathy for it. But after coming back into sort of a more academic environment, it's changed. Yeah, there seems a lot more awareness and a lot more appreciation for that. You may be suffering without actually people seeing that. When I think back to leaving school and sort of in the 90s, it was rarely talked about in any real sense. But yeah, now it seems, I think more could be done, but it's good that it's being talked about. It's good that the discussion is open and it's not, being shied away from. I think talk. Don't be afraid to talk to people, like if it's a physician or, your peers, your friends, your family, don't let it control you, even though it does feel like it does a lot of the time. People do understand more than they let on, I think.
Hi, I'm Kieran Collins and I'm aged 22. Previously in my life I've struggled with depression and anxiety. During those times in my life I felt like there was an internal battle which was devastating my chances of fitting in with social situations and chasing the things that I needed to find a personal happiness. It got to a point where it became so significant to the way I was living where I did have to try to search for support elsewhere. That started with a trip to the doctors. On from the doctors I was referred to another programme. So from there I was referred to a psychologist. In my interaction with an engagement with the psychologist, there was 3 separate assessments that were undertaken. Personally for me, my own feelings that I terminated after I was given a feedback form which related and translated the information that I'd given to the psychologist back to me in their words, and at the time I felt quite judiced from the situation that happened because I gave information which I wasn't quite willing to disclose with any other personnel, and once I received the form back I felt that he was telling me more what I was going through rather than accepting what I told him. And I know that this is his professional practice and it's his job, but I felt very misunderstood and like there was like a lack of value in the words that I was saying for him to correspond back to me what it really meant. It was like he was telling me from his perspective what he's seen in me whilst I'm telling him exactly what is in me. So I was led to terminate my assessments. At the time it probably wasn't the wisest decision, but whilst you're struggling with like anxiety as it is, it flooded my head with more dark thoughts of being isolated alone, that there wasn't anybody that even in a professional standing in life that I couldn't find somebody to understand me. I lost a hell of a lot of friends during my time, and I became quite recluse. I was enrolled at college at the time, which my attendance became minimal. Everything that I created as a creative personnel myself, everything that I was creating was never good enough. I was becoming very self-destroyed. Then I took the approach of realising that this is life forever if I allow it to be. The longer I accept myself, I'm not dismissing mental illness at all now, and this can take away from the severity of how I was feeling. That was I disillusioning myself with that this is the form of life that I have, and there is no escape. So I took the approach of trying to rebuild. At first it was challenging and it diminished a lot of my connections with people. I had to basically take time out, like a big time out. I had to take a lot of time out to focus on the things that meant most. I got there in the end. I had to take my own strategies in getting there, but it did happen. And now I do feel that I can breathe again. I don't feel as enclosed and as isolated and alone as I once did. I do feel that the world needs to recognise, like my father for instance, he doesn't necessarily believe in mental illness. He feels that it's up to you, and I understand where he's coming from, but it's very primitive, his way of thinking, and dismissive. So, and that reflects to me that the society that I'm in as a young person, we're very aware, but there is the generations that still exist at the same time as us that aren't as focused and as understanding as they should be. I do believe that the world is taking a brighter step forward into a better future for people with mental illnesses with the awareness campaigns. I do think there's a lot of work left to do, and I believe that if there is a problem, then you do need to open up about it. Once I'd opened up and I'd confessed to like my problems, not confessed, no, like once I'd opened up about my problems, I did start to feel an ease that they weren't riding on my back as a lot. So my one word of advice is for people not to be ashamed for anything they're going through. We all have dark parts of our lives and we can all rebuild. We're humans and we are programmed to rebuild once we fall down. Thank you.